welcome back to another episode of NFT Artist Spotlight, hosted by AstroZero. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Thanks.
All right, so today on AstroZero Twitter Spaces, we have very special guest Vincent. He is the developer of a global motorsport fantasy and esport league called ANTEFAME. Welcome to our spaces, and congratulations on a project that's relatively unheard of right now in the NFT space. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself, about your project, and what you have in store for us in the next couple of days?
Absolutely. So, so happy to be here, and it's really the first time that I talk to this audience. So, yeah, we've been very silent, very stealthy since we've launched the website about a couple of weeks ago. So, who am I? I'm Vincent. I'm French. I used to live and work in London. I was responsible for Top Gear, for the BBC Top Gear, the UK version of Top Gear. My job was not to manage the show, but my job was to monetize the show and to do this with websites, social media, games, so Forza, video game partnership, licensing deals with magazine and so on. And that took me about, I spent about 5 years at Top Gear. I was actually part of the team that managed the transition from Jeremy Clarkson to Chris Harris. So it was a pretty stressful moment. Also part of the launch of Top Gear America. And during that time, I knew basically nothing about car at that point. And I was asked by the CEO to act originally as a deputy, because the guy responsible for Top Gear left overnight, and I was in a position to do this. So I had no knowledge of the car industry, but being in that world, in a couple of months, I kind of knew everything that I had to know in terms of manufacturer, in terms of team, in terms of influencers and so on. And one of the person that I met during that time was a guy that I was really impressed with, a guy called Julien Abelli. So why I became impressed about Julien is because he was at that time about 24, 23. And he managed to build on his own a Formula One hydraulic simulators with about 3 or 4 Gs of forces on 6 motions. And the thing was so real. At the level of what you would expect to find at a Red Bull, for instance, or at a Mercedes. It was so real, the experience, that I got the whole Top Gear team to come and do an interview. And he did it on its own. He built the chipset, he built the software, he assembled all of the components to make it happen, and he managed to create something from nothing, which was at the level of what you would expect to pay, $1 million, basically. So I got the whole team to France. We did an interview. We did a little bit of a race, and it's so violent, the experience on this kind of car. It's just unbelievable. And then the relationship has built over time, right? So it's been about 10 years that I've known Julien, and we've become friends. And he has actually grown his business into a proper talent management center. So he managed kids from as young as 3 years old up to now 18 years old. And he has around him a team of, physiotherapists, mental preparation specialists, and so on. And he helped these kids move from karting up to F1. At the beginning, unknown people that you would have no idea. But today, he has in his roster the world champion for endurance, which is 24-hour Le Mans. Maybe you've seen the movie. So he has the world champion. The guy is also the winner of Le Mans, so he has a double title, which is quite impressive. The guy is like 21, 22. He's called Charles Milesi. He also managed Théo Pourchaire. So Théo Pourchaire is at the same level as Lewis Hamilton at the same age. He's still in F2. He's the youngest winner at Monaco this year to become P1, position 1 at Monaco ever. He made history this year, and he will probably be an F1 driver next year. Julien is actually going to Jeddah on Thursday for a live stream and the launch of ANTEFAME. Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. That's the first time they do a Grand Prix, and Julien will be here. He will be live streaming everything. So how does it look? What's the paddock like? What's the track like? Hopefully interviewing some F1 driver, interviewing some team manager. We work very closely with some of them. Philippe Vasseur from Alfa Romeo and Sébastien Philippe from Art Grand Prix. So we thought that's the unique opportunity to launch ANTEFAME. First race ever in Jeddah, first Grand Prix. Nobody ever drove on that track, so we thought that's the perfect, it's the perfect timing to announce ANTEFAME, and that's what's going to happen on Thursday at 3 p.m. UK time. So that's me. That's how the project came to life. But the question is the why, and I want to make that point because it's a very important point. The point is not just about motorsport. The point is this. You have a vision, you have a dream, you want to achieve something. We want to help you achieve this as long as you show some level of performance. As long as you show that you are working for it. And in that sense, it's almost the reverse of an Instagram or Twitter or Facebook where we have a large number of people trying to influence other people by saying things, but they actually don't show, they don't do things. So we want to kind of reverse that philosophy. You do things, we expose what you do. And in the world of motorsports, it's simple. We show your points, we show your performance on a weekly basis. And because you show your performance and how hard you work for it, then we invest in you. And that's the principle behind ANTEFAME. It's a fantasy league. It's a classical fantasy league where you create your team, you scout your drivers, and you have to select drivers in 5 categories, not just F1, because otherwise it's too easy. Because otherwise everybody's going to select Hamilton. So you select someone in F1, someone in F2, in F3, in F1, and karts. And the performance of your drivers in real life every week are indexed to your team score, and that's how your team grows. And that's how you can start to earn points and win prizes. But the foundation of this really is to help people with dream achieve their dream. And we start with motorsports simply because Julien is in a unique position right now to be the gateway between the old world and the new world. He managed kids from 3 years old up to 18, and he bridged the gap between the existing F1 driver and the up and coming F1 driver. And same thing in different disciplines. Charles Milesi is in WEC, endurance, and it's the same principle. He can act as a gateway between these both worlds. And because of this, he's in a unique position to have the trust and the partnership of 7 teams already. And now every week we have a new team coming asking to join the system. So that's why this is coming to life. It's because of that connection with Julien, because of his immersion into that world of motorsport on a daily basis. And he's always on the ground, always on tracks, always with drivers, and the vision to help anyone achieve their dream. Sorry for the long introduction, but I thought it was important to explain the foundation behind the project, because it's not just about helping the successful guys, or which are already successful, succeed more. It's about helping the other guy and putting the spotlight on them because of the successful guys. So that's the idea, really.
So over in the United States here, NASCAR is much more popular than Formula One racing. So I have a couple questions just as far as how the terminology works in Formula One racing. Now, they're not called drivers, they're called pilots, correct?
Yep. Well, in France, we say pilots. I suppose in the UK, they say driver or racer. But yeah, actually, exactly. Depends which. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Because when I think pilots, I think planes. So I was a little bit confused there. And with Formula One, there's going to be different classifications. So there's F4, F3, F2, F1, and then there's also kart drivers. Now, is that classified by age bracket, or is that classified by the size of the engine that they have in the car?
It's really about the age, and of course, as you move from discipline to discipline, the engine becomes more and more powerful. But the karting, so it's a very good question, because we had that conversation today with one of the big guy in F1, Ralf Schumacher. He's the brother of Mike Schumacher. He was himself an F1 champion. And it's a live stream that we have on Twitch. So if you want to access this, I'm going to publish this on Instagram and LinkedIn later on. But anyway, I asked him that question. I say, so how long it took you to go from kart to F1? And he told me, well, he's German, he speaks a very strong German accent and so on. I say, well, in my case, it was pretty long, because it took me, I don't know how long I don't remember how long he said, but it was a long time. And he said, but simply because I started kart at 1 year old. There was a big silence. What? How is that even physically possible, to start driving a car at 1 year old? But I mean, the Schumacher family in Europe is and in F1 is iconic. So yeah, probably he started at 1 year old. But the point is, it's age, and in the karts category, the answer that he asked today was, it can go up to 10 years old, right? If you haven't made it by 10 year old, it's going to be difficult. That said, we've met another driver today, a guy called Louis Delatraz. He started karts at 10 year old, and that didn't prevent him to become an F1 test driver and reserve driver for one of the big F1 teams. So there are exceptions, of course, but generally it's about the age, and karting will probably stop at around 7, then you will move into F4, then F3, and then F2 and F1. And Theo Pourchaire right now is the best example, because he was 17 in F2, he's now 18, and he will probably be still 18 when he starts in F1, which will be unique in history, basically.
All right, so the way that you have it formatted for your league is basically you could buy one of 4 passes, right? And then what you end up doing is you would have your team of drivers, and then you would select a driver for each category from F1 up to F4 and then karts, correct? That's pretty much the layout. All right, so now let's say, is it kind of just like a random draw of who you get as your F1 driver, or do you get a series of F1 drivers? So if like let's say I have I get my series of drivers, do I have like a couple F1 drivers in case one's not doing well, and I could substitute another one in as my starter?
Exactly. So when you buy the pass, it's like your starter kit, right? We equip you to be able to start playing the game, which is starting in March, because March is the start of the F1 season. But things will happen between now and March, and I will explain in a minute. But when you buy your pass, you're equipped. You have 4, one in the next tier of your pass, and 4 in your existing tier, basically. So we give you an added value, if you like, within the pass. These are randomly distributed. You get something of value, you just don't know who. Just like on NBA Top Shot, when you do some drops and you don't know what you're going to get in your pack. From January onwards, we will start to drop or sell individual NFTs of drivers. So if you bought the most expensive pass, you will have 24 hours to buy these drivers on a Monday. The next level will be able to do this on a Tuesday. The next level on a Wednesday, Thursday, and then the public will be able to do this on a Friday. So at this point, you get and unfortunately, you get what's left. But this is your chance to complement your team with people that you believe in, right? So you've heard about Theo Pourchaire, and you probably want to have that guy in your team for F2 this year. You probably want to wait January or February to be able to buy Theo Pourchaire. If you want Theo Pourchaire, absolutely, and if you know that guy. But it will be initially cheaper to buy the pass, whatever the tier, whether it's the rookie tier or the legend tier. It's going to be cheaper given what's inside the pass than to wait and buy individually when we start the game. But you will then have more control in your selection of drivers when we start the game.
Okay, that's pretty cool. What are some of the professionals that you have lined up in order to represent the product?
So first, I want to say that we start with single seater. So F1 category is called single seater, but we already have on the roadmap to extend to IndyCar, for instance, Formula E. Not yet NASCAR, but this is in conversation. But of course, we will be looking at US leagues, of course. So which professional do we have right now? The key, I suppose, are the 7 teams that have already partnered with us. I'm going to mention 2 because they are iconic. The first one is Art Grand Prix. So why it's an important team? Because that's basically the team that has had the most world champion ever in history. So they had Hamilton, they had Leclerc, Bottas, Verstappen, so all of these names that you know from Netflix Drive to Survive, they went through Art Grand Prix. And Art Grand Prix is an F2 team just before F1. Why we have Art Grand Prix? Simply because Julien now works with Art Grand Prix. So Julien bridged the gap between the young kids and people coming to F2. And he almost acts as a scout. So because of that relationship, it took him 10 years to build. It's not something that happened overnight. He has the trust of Art Grand Prix. Art Grand Prix believe in the project and this vision to help the discipline develop and help young people achieve their dream and so on. So they believe in that story, and therefore there is an exclusive partnership with us, which grant us access to the content of all of the drivers that they had through their lifetime, including Hamilton and so on. And this is unique because if you want today to create what we create, you will have to go to Mercedes, negotiate the rights to be able to use the IP, not use the IP, but monetize the IP through NFTs. And you will be in competition with I don't know how many companies and projects, and your chance of success is probably going to be close to zero. So we've managed to avoid that problem by working directly with Art Grand Prix that already own the content of these guys. So Art Grand Prix is one example. I think in their roster they have I don't know how many drivers, like something like 18 or 20. I forgot. It's on their website in the Hall of Fame. You can see all of the names they have, but basically the best in the world. WRT is another team that's the equivalent of Art Grand Prix, but in the endurance championship. So Le Mans 24 of Le Mans. And again, these guys, that team, they have about 18 drivers. They own the rights. We can monetize these rights and create NFTs from this content. It's the same principle, but it's a different league. And then on occasion, we treat directly with drivers. Guy de la Trace, for instance, is one of them. I had a live stream with him today. So it varies, but most of the time it's going to be through the teams. And right now we have 7 teams. I'm not sure you know the name of all of them, but if I mention Alpine, for instance, this is one of them, or US Racing. US Racing is the team owned by Ralf Schumacher and Gerhard Ungart. So that's another team that we have. In total, it's about, I would say, close to 50 drivers to start with. And I'm not talking about kart, because kart is a huge roster of people. It's like hundreds of people.
What type of value do you offer to your holders outside of the NFT itself? Do they get any sort of meet and greets with racers? Do they get tickets to events or anything that likeness?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was Julien point to connect the NFT world with the reality of motorsport. So depending on the pass you buy, let's start with the one at 20th. It's of course, this is of course going to be impressive because it's expensive, but basically the cost of the pass is basically it's close to the cost we have to pay the expenses. So one of the experience is you will have a couple of days immersion into a Grand Prix in the paddock, VIP treatments, all inclusive. And during that time, you will be able to meet an F1 driver and ask him question and live his life for an hour or two. So that's one of the experiential thing that we propose. You can also substitute this with the ability to put your name or your avatar or your NFT on a Formula 2 car. So this will be visible on TV during the races and so on. That is super expensive, and it's possible because Julien can manage this type of sponsorship. Or if you don't want to do this and you'd rather spend some time in a luxury environment and enjoy a more intimate relationship with a driver, an F2 driver, we plan to organize 3 days immersion in the racing heritage of Maserati at Modena in Italy. So it's going to be really in reality 2 days on location with a sport experience on the track, because they have their own track where they race the Maserati Gran Turismo and the MC20 and all of these cars, but also a visit of the manufacturing center, the production center, which is mind blowing. It's really an experience to see. So that's going to be an alternative if you do not want to do the paddock and so on. So that's the first thing. The second thing is for that tier, we organize every year a party. And there is something that I've discovered because of Julien, which is quite amazing. There will be a party at Monaco, of course. What's interesting is on the Friday night, they actually, for the people which are part of the party, they actually open the track. So the track become a nightclub basically, and and you can mingle around the drivers and team manager and whoever is invited to that party. So that's going to be part of the legend tier. And then there are some stuff which are utility stuff to play the game, to be able to play the game better, which I'm not going to cover in detail because at this point it's too much detail, but that's going to be on top of these things. So that's for the most expensive tier. The one before that, you will have the ability to buy a ticket to join the party in Monaco instead of getting the party to Monaco. You will be able to put your name on an Africa or your avatar or whatever message you want to put, and all of the benefits to play the game. There is one benefit which is common across all of the passes, which is important to mention, which is this. We've looked at NBA Top Shot. We've looked at Rev Racing, at F1 Delta Time. We look at Sorare, the French company which is behind this fantasy league for football, for soccer. They just raised $500 million a month ago, these guys. And we thought that something was missing. It's still a passive experience. And motorsport is so active. It's visceral. It's pure adrenaline. So we thought, what? We need something which is a bit more active. So we've decided to connect the fantasy league to a sim racing league. So if you really like driving and racing, which I don't think is going to be the case for this audience, but if you are into motorsport, you can actually join the eSport league, the sim racing league, race online, and substitute one of your driver with yourself, which means the point you make by racing online benefits your team, and you actually become part of your team. And if you're good, you will be able to mint yourself. So I'm mentioning this because one of the benefits common across all of the passes, the 40 of the passes, is the ability to join the league. And it's going to be only 10,000 racers or pilots or drivers, no more, forever. So if you want to join the league later on, you will have to buy the pass from someone else, basically. That's the point I'm making. And this is all across the tier, right? Whatever the tier you get, you will be able to access the eSport league. So yes, these are the benefits that, so it's a mix of experiential stuff. It's a mix of bragging rights, showing your name on the car. It's a mix of meeting with F1 drivers, F2 drivers, or having a couple of days immersion into the heritage of racing with Maserati. We decided to choose Maserati because Maserati has a very strong history for racing, but is not active on the circuit right now, which makes them neutral. Which we don't favor anybody. We don't favor Mercedes or Audi or whatever. So Maserati is unique in that sense because they have. It's purely about racing, their heritage, but they are not involved right now, so it makes them the perfect partner for this. But yeah, that's the example of expense and benefit that we will provide.
So I really, when I first was looking at the website and I saw that the one pass was 20 ETH, it did concern me a bit. And then I started researching a little bit more into Formula One, and I realized how large it actually is. Because in the United States, NASCAR is really the more sought after sport, but globally, Formula One is gigantic, and I had absolutely no idea how huge it was. I mean, it said 50 million viewers per year watch F1, and I had absolutely no clue. So, is your target demographic going to be more of the high end investor, or are you looking for investors straight across the board, people that are looking to just maybe experiment in it, or are you trying to go more people that are going to want to actually invest in these titanium passes?
I would say across the board, but I think to reply to the question, the best answer is to explain what's the value for people participating in the game. What they're going to get, how can they actually create value and get more value out of it. So I think that there are three ways, and I think it will concern three types of audiences. So the first one is, if you really are into motorsports and you love motorsport, and we will come to IndyCar and NASCAR at some point. We know in this IndyCar for sure next year, and NASCAR probably the year after. But anyway, then the value you get is by being good in the game and scouting the right guy, getting your team up in the leaderboards, and having a chance to win the prizes. So we're going to allocate ETH prices and NFT prices weekly and yearly. So that's the first value you're going to get by playing the game. Some of the audience will actually not care about this so much. And in the game, there is something that is going to be almost like an NBA Top Shot collectible. Let me explain that for a minute. The idea is that the drivers are going to drop their private content. Why? Because private content is going to be mapped with a skill of the driver in the game. So if you buy the content of a driver training in the fitness center, this will increase his resilience, for instance. If you buy private content of a driver in a, let's say, in a social setting, it will increase his confidence level, maybe. So it's okay for the game, but it's also a collectible, because one of the things that you could buy is an audio file or video file of a driver explaining what he was thinking, what he was feeling when he won a specific race. So in the world of F1, for instance, there is a moment this year where Hamilton was last at a Grand Prix, and he managed to go from last to third place. What was he thinking? What was his thought process? How could he pull that off? And what was the emotion around this? If he dropped that and you own that, you are the only one in the world to have access to that emotion, that thought, or whatever he's going to say. This is unique. So we believe that there is a part of the audience that will want to do this for the collection, for the collectible side of thing. If you do this for the game side of thing, you could probably also get value from it by holding your cards with your drivers and then selling your drivers on the marketplace, because of course they are going to be limited edition. And if Théo Pourchaire perform very well, the market will determine the price of Théo Pourchaire, and you will be able to sell your Théo Pourchaire card. So that's the other way to make money. And then of course the prices that you could get from playing the game. So to reply to your question, I believe we will attract different audiences. I think the 20 ETH type audiences will probably either want to enjoy the experience that is coming with the pass. So the paddock experience or the Mazepin experience, they cost a lot of money. So there is little margin on this one for us. The audience that really want to play the game will probably want to secure, the rookie pass or the confirm pass. And the audience which is in between, they want to be able to have some form of collectible and experience and so on, will probably choose the veteran pass. So I suppose we cater to these three type of audiences.
So are you going to have one total leaderboard for people as far as who's the leader, or are you going to split it into like groups or divisions, and then at the end have the champions compete against each other to see who the winner is?
We have to separate by tier, because it will be unfair to have a competition between someone with a legend pass that will have access to a titanium driver card with someone in a rookie league, or even someone in the public that didn't buy the pass. So it's going to be a tier by tier championship, and the prize pool will be matching the volume of user in the rookie, in the confirm, in the veteran, and legend. That's the only way to make it fair. Otherwise, you always give an unfair advantage to the legend owner, and that's no good.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Do you have any plans to do anything like community building events where you have maybe streams of races like Monaco or the Indy 500 or Le Mans, and maybe have some sort of party on the website that everybody could come in and have like a community building project together?
Absolutely, that's my dream. If we could get the community involved in creating this, if we could play with the community, that would be my biggest achievement. In fact, this is almost starting on the Discord now. it was very slow to start the Discord, and over the last 48 hours, he went to I think now it's like 400 or 500 people. I didn't count yet. But people are now starting to make suggestions. Today I had almost a 3-hour AMA with 4 early adopters. They really love the project, and they already gave us a recommendation for the sim racing, the esport league. Say your choice of game. We recommend you do this. Okay, so why don't you join the project? Why don't you take ownership of this part of the game? Oh, yeah, let's discuss that. So that's exactly what I want, because we don't have answers to everything. Some of these guys in the audience, they've been in esport and racing for like 10 years. Julien is a motorsports expert, but he's not a sim racer expert. Of course, he knows because he's building simulators, right? But he doesn't do this day in day out. So the more of that energy and collaboration we can have, I think the better for everybody. Absolutely. So are we going to organize live stream and events? Absolutely. In fact, this is off, but one of the benefits that I wanted to organize this year for the Veteran Pass was actually a massive party. There is a golf close to Monaco, a golf course with a huge hotel, and I wanted to kick off the game with like a 200 type people invited party to just celebrate the launch of ANTEFAME. It was too late to pull it off. It was too late. But that's the kind of stuff I really want to inject into the brand. We enjoy, we have fun, we meet at the Grand Prix if we can. If not, we're gonna find a way. In fact, the Legend Pass, where you are invited to the paddock, you decide which Grand Prix, right? Next year we're gonna have 26 Grand Prix in 26 cities all over the world. So probably you will be able to find a location that you will be able to attend. And I wish I could do all of them. I don't think I will be able to do all of them, but as much as we can, getting the community engaged and meeting, doing things together, that's in the DNA of the brand. Absolutely, yes.
So further down on the website, it says that you have a scouting portion and then you have a trade portion. So you're actually able to trade your avatars to other people and swap them and change your players on your team actively throughout the season, correct?
Absolutely. In fact, I don't know if it's interesting for you guys, but we started this project by building a prototype on Flow in January, February, March, Dapper Labs Flow, and the first iteration of the platform was simply a marketplace where you would be able to collect the emotions of the driver. This is going to be including now in the game, but that's how we started. So it was very close to NBA Top Shot, of course. So the marketplace is, I would say, almost like the heart, because you will own your Theo pour share cards. Theo will go to F1. You will want to sell this. You will go to the marketplace. Now the question becomes: can you sell your Theo on OpenSea? Originally, yes, the plan is to do this, but we've came across a new project called Kuruma, which intend to become the OpenSea of the car world. It's founded by the co-founder of GT Channel. GT Channel is a YouTube NCM aggregator. They have something like 1 billion views per year because they work with like 300 channels, I think. And that guy is now trying to build the OpenSea of the car world, trying to get the manufacturers, the professionals, the media, the brand, and so on in something which is going to be much more catered for that audience. So we are talking with these guys so that you will also be able to sell your pass on that platform, and the royalties, if someone buy your pass or your NFTs down the line and forever, you will still benefit, which is not possible on OpenSea. As soon as we move to OpenSea, you sold the card has been sold, the NFT has been sold. That's it. It's end of the game. But if we work with platform like Kuruma and we want to do this, then you will still have royalties down the line because we will have some better technical integration. So yes, sorry, I've kind of digressed on the question, but the marketplace is at the heart of this, and it's going to be probably from day one.
Now, do you have a concern with people trading their card packs back and forth in order to acquire different drivers because of Ethereum gas fees, or are you going to use the tradable assets that you have on the platform through a different type of blockchain like Polygon to cut down on the high gas fees? Because I think if you have it on ETH, it's going to kind of discourage people with trading back and forth with the price that it costs to actually do any blockchain swaps.
So the recommendation we had from our technical advisors was to launch the pass sale on ETH immediately. In fact, on the 2nd of December, we are not going to do that. On the 2nd of December, we are just going to announce that we are live. We are going to clarify the roadmap, what's going to happen when. And the first thing that's going to happen is a private sale, because we've been asked to kick off sales anyway. So we will start a private sale. This will be in partnership with a company called Escaru, which is specialized in building escrow type system for crypto. And they work with 50 cryptocurrencies. So ETH, Bitcoin, Solana, you name it, Binance stuff. So it's not just going to be ETH, but this is going to be a private sale between next week and the end of December. And then from January, it's going to be a public sale. Same technology, same allowance for cryptos. And then when we move to the launch of the main platform in March, the plan is to use Polygon Chain 2 and to have reduced fees. There is a big debate right now with the technical team whether we should have our own chain, our own private chain. So we have no issue with gas fees going forward. But of course, the issue with that is that you won't be able to sell stuff on OpenSea. So it's in the air. They've kind of guaranteed to us that if we go on our private chain, anywhere they are cross, we can bridge with other chains, and we'll still be able to allow people to go and sell their stuff on OpenSea and so on. Yeah, but this is right now the plan is to work on Polygon and EPFS, very traditional stuff, and to get the gas fee as low as possible. They are just concerned that the gas fee on Polygon may go up. That's why they've proposed this. So we will see.
So what happens if you have your team set for the week? Is it that's a question real quick. Is your team set because you could do substitution. So is your team set at the beginning of the race week and then you could do substitutions later on? Is it a daily reset that you could do? How often can you do resets between your players and substitutions?
So first you need the wildcard. And the wildcard are not going to be in huge supplies. And if you do have a wildcard, you will be able to substitute 1 or 2 or 3 drivers. I mean, the largest wildcard give you up to 5 substitutions. So you will be able to change all of your drivers if you wanted to before a race. And that's going to be as per how many wildcard you have, right? So I don't think people will be able to change their drivers every week, and I don't recommend this because it's about knowing your drivers. It's about understanding their performance, how they work with their cars, what's happening in their life. Do they have any issues? Do they have any health issues? Do they have any? So you really want to have that intimacy. You really want to get into the drivers, so you know that you can count on him to perform. Because if you make too many substitutions, it's too much noise. It's too much work. In fact, I mean, not too much work in the sense of being lazy, but so much parameters you will have to take into account, and the data will be in the platform. The data will be the platform. You will be able to access the performance data of your drivers and information of your drivers inside of the platform. But now it's manageable because we have 50 drivers. But as we continue to grow and onboard people, it's going to be too difficult to chase the new guy every week. So my recommendation anyway is not to do this too much. Is to do your homework, scout your drivers, change your drivers maybe every 3 months if you want to, if you're not happy. But build a relationship. Things takes time to develop. They don't happen overnight. Nobody was but I will tell you a story which is interesting. Charles Milesi, the winner of the endurance championship this year, world champion, winner of Le Mans, 3 weeks ago was completely under the radar of the media, of brands, of influencers. You would have met him in the street. Okay, it's just someone. And and nobody was counting on him to become world champion. A couple of weeks ago in Dubai, became world champion. Now Richard Mills watches, sponsors from X, from there, and only you would have been able to capitalize on this if you were intimate with Charles Milesi, because then you would have known that Charles is actually a robot. The guy acts with a velocity I've never seen in my life. But you don't get that just by looking at him once. You need to get to know him. You need to follow his Instagram, his Twitter, watch him on YouTube, and so on. So develop a relationship with the driver, not just speculate. I think is the best move for the game.
Yeah, because my biggest concern is, what we have going on right now with COVID. If a driver was to get COVID, you just end up leaving that spot empty, and then you could actually get hurt on the leaderboards. So that's why I was asking about how the substitutions work, because you never know. Your driver.
In that, I see. Yeah. In that case, you're absolutely right. In that case, you have your wild card and use that wild card in that case. In the rules of the game, we kind of accommodate for this kind of, let's call them exceptions. So if a race is cancelled or a race is postponed or a driver has a huge accident, so we do not penalize the team for this kind of unforeseen circumstances. It's in the system already. The COVID case is a very good point. I need to check the rule how we handle this, but it will not force you to use a wildcard for substitution in that case, because it's unforeseen, it's not under your control, there's nothing you can do about it. So people are not going to be penalized for this type of events, for sure.
Okay, well that's very good to know. How did you come up with the name ANTEFAME?
Thank you for this one. Because ANTEFAME actually means, the meaning of this is the antechamber of success. The antechamber. This is the place where you go before you become famous. And in fact, this is the place where you should go as a player, as an investor, to find people that are on the verge of exploding in their life. And that's where you find them, So we think that the name is good because it applies to the vision of helping everybody achieve their objective by showing that they work hard for it. It's not just a motorsport thing, and it says what it is on the tin. It's the place where you can scout people that are on the verge of becoming, at the top of their game. So the antechamber of success. And of course, it's easy to confuse this with, anti-fame. I'm against fame. We're not against fame, but that's not what we are chasing here. What we are chasing here is to help people that want to get fame by doing what they want to do and by showing it to the world.
Eventually down the line, do you think that you're going to incorporate maybe a native cryptocurrency to this and possibly add a gambling element into the racing?
I'm not sure about this, but what I can say is that there is on the roadmap a plan for a token, and that came on the radar because of the conversation with the teams and the drivers. And let me explain to you. One thing that we've identified being a huge gap on the market is about sponsorship. And sponsorship could be named NFTs. Let me explain that. When you race, on the race day, if you want to sponsor a car or if you want to sell some placement on your car, most of the time it's going to be a peer-to-peer type conversation. There is no marketplace. There is nowhere where okay, this Mercedes car, this Renault car, whatever, there is some space available for that race. You need to know the team owner, the business development manager. You need to know people. So it causes a problem for everybody because the team manager, the team owner, damn, we have space available for this race. The sponsor just put out. We just can't sell it. It's lost opportunity. The sponsor, damn, I wanted to be on that race. I didn't know. So if we introduce a token into the system, people will be able to tokenize placements on the car, on the helmets, on the glove, and so on. And the token could also be used in the game as a currency, indeed. So I'm trying to answer your question at the same time, but that's how we see things develop. And in fact, when we mention this to our partners and the investors and so on, everybody's saying us, why don't you just start with this? Because there is clearly a gap in the market and so on and so on. We will do this, but step by step, because there are so many things attached to this in terms of regulation, in terms of who could actually buy the token, in which country. We need to make things properly and not hurry. So this will come, but probably end of the 2022 or beginning of 2023.
If anybody has any questions for Vincent, feel free to raise your hand. If you're in the speaker box, you can just shout it out. I have a couple more questions for you. How long does a typical Formula or kart season last?
It's running from March to December, basically. So we have 26 races during the year.
Okay.
I mean, in 2020, yeah.
So after the first season that you have, what do you do in the interim from? So once the first season completes from March to December, what do you have to keep people involved from December to the following March when the next season starts?
So between January and March when the next season starts, we probably drop new drivers. And also something called a team manager. So a team manager is a virtual persona. They are team managers in our world of F1, famous ones like Toto Wolff, for instance. You probably have seen him on Drive to Survive. We are going to create our own team manager simply to act as a booster for your team. And they will have their own history, their own metadata, their own capabilities. So you will have also to scout these guys, and that will always happen between January and March. So basically, January and March is the time for you to do your homework, to search the drivers that you want to keep, sell, scout, and buy, and do the same thing for your team manager. Get ready. If you are also a participant of the sim racing league, the esports league, then you have your qualification season in March. You have your free practice in February. In February you have your qualification. In January you have your free practice. So you are quite busy to prepare yourself for the next season, basically. And that's when most of the drops happen. That's the plan.
Do you have any plans in the future to make some sort of metaverse or virtual reality racing? So somebody that has a personalized avatar could race against another person, and you could have maybe just people racing against people, whether it be to be on the leaderboards or just like free play, just, I want to race this guy and we're just going to have a competition for the day.
I love that question. So, okay, the best way to answer this is the news. Today, we have received the confirmation that one of the director of engineering for Meta, so ex-Facebook, responsible for gaming, is going to join us as a board member. So clearly, he's at the heart of this right now. So is the metaverse on the radar? Absolutely. Are we legitimate to build something right now? Absolutely not. Do we have the expertise and the strategic advice to build a plan? Yes. So this will come, but it will be irresponsible to say today we are going to build something in the metaverse. It requires money, it requires time, and that's not the focus right now. But we are ready for it. That's the first answer. The second answer, which is much more important, is Julien always has some great idea. And one of the idea that he has is that for people that don't want to sim race, but still want to participate, we can actually create AI model of your team, an AI model of your team. So we can combine, he can combine the performance of your driver, your selection in your team, to create something like a meta driver, which will act as an AI, which will drive in the sim racing game. So we will have a world where your team competes against other team in the sim racing game, and you will actually see your car driving. So that's on the radar. I don't know when that's going to come. It's going to be in 2022. I just don't know when, because we have so many things to do before. But that's one way to merge, if you like, this idea of a metaverse with AI. Originally on a platform which already exists. It's a sim racing platform which is already used by millions of people. And maybe down the line our own stuff, but this is not before 2023 or 2024. But for sure we will have the right expertise in the business to build that plan. Yes.
So it says that you could get bonus drops in order to increase your scores or boost your scores. How does that work exactly?
So there is the team manager, which acts as a booster. So it basically adds a coefficient to your team. They are rare, so yeah, you should be on the lookout when we drop them, or when they are for sale on the marketplace. And then there is this concept of buying the private content of your drivers, because a private content is mapped to a skill. A skill acts as a booster for a race. So let's say that I'm going to use the same name again. I'm sorry, guys. I know you don't know him, but Theo. Let's say Theo drop content of him training in the fitness center. If you buy that NFT, it will give you a boost of resilience that you can apply only for one race. And maybe you want to do this when Theo underperformed in the last race. So you want to help him, in fact. So you basically help him by buying his skills as an NFT, and that's going to boost your team score.
All right, that's pretty cool. Now, I also saw that you're going to donate some of your proceeds to charity based upon community. They get to vote on it. So some sort of governance token deal, I guess you would have as far as with an NFT you own, right? So the community is going to decide what charities get donations. Is that how that's going to work, or is it going to go towards designated charities?
So we will probably have a list of potentials. There are a few on the radar. One of them actually help people professionalize themselves for motorsport. So they help them become mechanic or working in marketing or whatever. So they help people develop their talents for the motorsport industry. So that's one on the radar. We've been advised to also look at the big ones like the Trust Foundation, the Royal Foundation. I'm actually an ex-board member at the Royal Foundation, so I know their values and what they want to achieve. So it could be a good match. But ultimately, the audience, the participant, will determine which charity we go for. I hope that we go for a charity which I think the first example is the best one. A charity that really help people transform themselves and do something, not necessarily in motorsports. It could be in a different sector, but that would be my preference if you were to go in that route. So we will have a list of charities, and one of them is going to be that one.
Okay. What would make your project appeal to somebody that's not necessarily into motorsports?
I think it's this growth curve where by owning an NFT of a driver and holding that NFT, you will enjoy a bigger slope that if you were investing into someone which is already famous, but is about to leave the circuit. So your chance of acceleration of the value of your NFTs is going to be much more interesting than on any other platform, because that's the foundation of the platform is really to help you find out people on the verge of explosion but not yet there, and that's when you can maximize your gain. So I think that's the first thing. The second thing is this concept of collectibles of private content from drivers. We will have content through produced as NFTs, of moments in their life, of emotions, of thoughts that you will not see on other platforms. You will not see on Instagram. You will not be able to find on Twitter. It's going to be on ANTEFAME, and that is for the motorsport community. This is invaluable. And in fact, the way that this is going to be materialized is we will actually display them into some holographic formats inside of a holographic display. So you will also be able to put this in your house, on your table, or whatever as a piece of art. And so I think that's also very interesting if you don't want to go into motorsport, but want to own a moment of history, which is going to be unseen or unheard of, even if you're not into motorsport. So that's the second reason why this is interesting for someone not in the sector. And I think that's it. And then the third one probably is this: the concept of ANTEFAME, as I said in the introduction, is not designed for motorsports. We want to be able to scale this across industries. One of the sector I'm talking to right now in Europe is the American football sector. I used to be an American football player in the so maybe now most of you are gonna laugh, guys, because American football in Europe and France is what? But yeah, I used to be an American football player in France in the one of the league in France. I went to the national team. I've enjoyed my life as a footballer. It was the best time in my life, and I want to help that sector, that community. In 2022. There is a new European league which is starting. It's called the EFL, and it's going to be the exact same principle. You know, we will have that league, put the spotlight on the players. Some of these players will go into NCAA. Some of these players will go into NFL, because we do have European players in NFL, and it's going to be a chance for us to implement the same principles in a different sector. So I would say if you don't like motorsport, you're not interested in holding collectibles of drivers or having cars of drivers, continue to follow the project, because down the line you may be surprised as we explore new sectors. And I think the next one will probably be American football, because it's very close to my heart.
That's really awesome. I was going to ask you if you're going to get involved with NASCAR, but I don't know how it works with licensing agreements and sponsorships and all of that good stuff. But that's pretty awesome. I'm actually kind of surprised that you're into American football.
Oh my God! at some point when you have a passion like this, like, at the core of your being, you start to dream. And in my case, I was dreaming. You know what? I'm gonna work so hard. I'm gonna go to the NCAA. I'm gonna maybe make a living out of it. So I was super serious about it. Like, we had training 4 times a week, 3 hours every time, plus game on Sunday. I had my day job. I had, of course, my life, but I basically spend my time on the track, on the field. And American football, it's a family. It's the bonding is so strong, because you share some tough experiences, and that's how you create the bonding, right? And I really thought that would be my life. But I thought it would be my life too late, because I was already close to being 30. I'm not that young anymore, and it's a dream, It's come back to reality, But still, the passion for the sport has stayed intact, and when I decided to go with ANTEFAME with Julien in January, in the back of my head I was thinking, you know what? We could probably apply this to other sector. And I got in touch with my head coach, a guy that used to be a coach at Boys University, explaining the project. And he told me, Vincent, this is perfect timing, because next year we launch the European League, a new European League for the NFL. And there are a lot of crossovers between the American market and the European market. I mean, the American market could be interested to scout the next star from Europe coming to NFL. Who are they? And vice versa. The European, they want to invest into the star that is going to go into NFL. So you can see that even if it's not the NFL, it has potential to bridge gaps and to excite people. And I think this is much needed in Europe, because American football, it's on the radar, but not as much as it is in the US, of course. So if we can help American football develop in Europe, then I would be happy to have played my part, to contribute to a sport that I love. So yeah.
Yeah, the good thing too about NFTs now, it's allowing people that are in sports that aren't really huge revenue streams to actually make a living doing what they're doing, such as like minor league baseball players. These guys, they really don't get paid a lot of money. They put a lot of time and effort into it, and some of them never make it to the pro level. So I think what you're doing, especially with like the guys that are in the F4s and the kart leagues and stuff like that, you're giving them an opportunity to actually get their name out and give them a chance to actually, make a name for themselves. And that's pretty awesome right there. Like you're really helping the little guy, and I have a lot of respect for that.
I appreciate it. I think this is why the team, they've agreed to work with us, because if we have approached this the other end of the spectrum, you're collecting things from people already famous and trying to maximize the value by holding this forever, I think they would not have listened. I think they like this idea because it's almost like the metaphor is like, we're trying to raise the sea and all the boat rise with us. But that only works if you get the superstars with you, because the superstars, they are the sea and they raise everybody else. So it's an ecosystem, and the game is to help the other guy achieve what they want to achieve. But you need the support of the top guy, because otherwise people don't come. If you don't say that you have the top guy in F1, people will not. They're not going to be interested. We have to be realistic. So we've managed to achieve these two things at the same time. Usually they contradict, and it's going to be a virtuous cycle. They will help the other guys. We will help them. And if they perform, which is, I think this is really the DNA of the project, if they perform, if they show consistency, if they continue to believe and do what they said they're going to do, then their value will go up and they will be able to make a living from this. The dream is this, really, is that, yes, it works and they can monetize not in a good way and finance their career, and that's something that I didn't mention at the start, but it's super expensive, and maybe you don't know, or maybe you know, but an F2 season, for instance, just before F1, cost $1 million per year. A kart season, the karting go-karts, I think in the US, probably you would have to invest $10,000 in the kart, and then you have to go to the track, and I mean, you will end up the year, you would have invested for your kids $50,000, $80,000 with no chance of sponsorship, because nobody wants to sponsor at this point. It's too early. So yes, if we can achieve that, and it's a win-win, because the participant get the value of the drivers because of the NFT collectible, because of the driver's card, because of the price they win, then we've achieved our mission. Absolutely.
That's awesome. So we're getting towards the top of the hour. We're going to start wrapping things up here, Vincent. You have your launch passes. They're going to be going on sale in 2 days, right? December 2nd?
Well, on December 2nd, we will announce the plan. We will announce the timeline of the sequence of things. So the private sale will start next week. On the 2nd of December, we just explain what's going to happen and when. And we do this on the 2nd of December simply because of the Jeddah Grand Prix, which is a unique moment in that motorsport history. So that's the chance to do it. But the private sale will start the week after. So basically from it's going to be the 5th or the 6th of December, basically, it's going to start.
Okay, is there any...
So we will...
Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, just to clarify that the communication about this is going to be on the Discord or on the website and nowhere else. Because we know how risky it could be with fake Telegram account and so on. So Discord or the website to keep in touch with the project and what's coming next and so on. And of course, joining the live stream, which I will post about on Twitter and Instagram and Discord. So you know what's going on when. But these are going to be the two main channels of communications.
Excellent. Is there anything else that you want to tell our community before we wrap this up?
Well, I'm really grateful to be here, guys, because that's the first time that I exposed the project really to the NFT community. We've been working hard for this for about a year now, and I didn't have the chance yet to explain myself and what we want to achieve, and also feel from your question where we should focus and give clarity. So I'm super grateful about this. And well, I hope you are interested. I hope it was interested for you. And I'm always on Discord, always there for the AMS. So if you have any question, just come and say hello, and we can continue the conversation.
Absolutely, that sounds awesome. I appreciate your time and coming out and talking to us. Vincent's website is antefame.com, ANTEFAME.com. Really cool stuff. You're the first person I've seen or spoken to, and I speak to a lot of people on here that's doing a fantasy sim racing league, and I wish you the best of luck, man. It's a really unique idea and really kick ass, and really looking forward to
I appreciate it.
going on in the future.
I appreciate it.
And also, don't be a stranger. Like we do these AMAs Monday through Friday every week. So if you ever see on Twitter here that I'm hosting one, feel free to jump in and come and talk to the community.
Okay, you'll see me again. I'm gonna come now. Absolutely. We have a date.
Yep, we have a date. Open invitation.
Okay.
All right. Well, I appreciate you stopping by, and thank you very much. And like I said, I wish you the best of luck. And yeah, just keep on trucking, man. You have a great thing going, and congratulations.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for your time today, and see you soon.
All right. Take care. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Yes, bye-bye.